Welcome to the session. Thank you for taking the time to join us today. We appreciate just how busy you are out in commissioning land, and so a big thank you for sparing the time for us. So my name's Catherine Smith and I work for Midlands and Lancashire Commissioning Support Unit. I'm joined today by my colleagues David O'Brien, who's our trainer and sort of service lead extraordinaire, and also I have Sharon on the call with us from Midlands and Lancashire, and Sharon is our comms and engagement lead for the project. We're working as part of a collaborative of CSUs. So that's all 4 CSUs working together in partnership to develop, deliver and support CQRS programmes. Our work on CQRS has been commissioned by NHS England, so everything that we're doing is centrally funded by them. The overall CQRS programme has got 2 strands. So the first is the takeover and the management of the CQRS national system, which no doubt you're all aware of. We took that system over a couple of years ago as part of the collaborative, and now we manage that on a day-to-day basis. The second part of the programme, and the reason for this session, is the use of CQRS Local. So what is CQRS Local exactly? Well, very simply put, CQRS Local is the one-stop shop for managing payments for local incentive schemes. So very much like the national version that I've just mentioned, but with the commissioners much more in the driving seat. So the system allows the commissioners and yourselves to set up and manage your schemes from a simple item of service option to a much more complex weighted scheme, to offer those schemes to your practices who can then submit claims. The commissioners then authorise the payment, and payment is made directly from one bank account to the next, all within one single system. It allows swift reconciliation and it allows multi-level reporting. The system was developed from a system that had been used in the north of the country, in the northeast, for many, many years, and it was developed from that system. We've taken that product, we've enhanced it, and we've made it more flexible and more powerful to meet the needs of all of the commissioners across the country. We've been helped and guided on that journey by our end user working group, and that fantastic group of people, there's some of their job titles on screen for you. That group of people, sorry, I've just got a bit of background noise. That group of people have really shaped the system. So we've worked with them to make sure that the system is fit for purpose from a commissioning side of things, but also from a primary care and GP practice side of things, making sure that the system adds value on both sides and that it's fit for purpose. We've had a number of early adopters come onto the system. So we had 5 early adopters who piloted and trialled the system for us, and they were able also to give us an awful lot of feedback and help us to grow and develop the system further. And now we have 19 different areas that are using the system. David will go into a bit more detail around who they are and how they use the system. So enough kind of background information from me. I'm going to hand you over to David and he'll do a demonstration of the system so you can see how it works from end to end. So over to you, David.
Okay, thank you very much, Catherine. So let me just share my screen. So afternoon, everybody. So my name is Dave O'Brien. I'm the IT training lead for the CQRS Local programme. So I also look after the implementation side of things. So the slides I'm going to show you today, hopefully that'll gather some interest. If it's something that you would like me to show you in a little more detail, I'll be more than happy to do that for you. There will be some details at the end provided to you, some contact details. I'm sure you've already seen my email for this invite today, so please do feel free to contact me at any time if you require a further and more in-depth system demonstration. So the slides I'll be going through today is just to give you a flavour of the system. There are quite a few slides for me to go through, which should take around about 20-25 minutes. And as Catherine said, please do feel free, if there's any questions that you've got, enter them into the chat and we will open up the session at the end for a Q&A session. So this just gives you a little insight as to some of the services which are used at the moment by our commissioners. We can tailor the system for your specific requirements, and I'm more than happy to have those discussions with you. We can see there over at the right hand side some services which are becoming quite popular. So as you can see there, the Ukrainian refugee health check assessment, that's something that's gathered a lot of interest so far, and we've now got 4 organisations who are on board with us, who are currently using that particular service. Very, very straightforward to set up. And again, I'm more than happy to discuss any of these with you. So this is our current position with sign up. I know that we're all still very, very familiar with the terms CCGs. So these are the list of the CCGs who are live, and on the right hand side, these are the ones who will be going live imminently. And we've also we get this on a daily basis, gathering a lot of interest from other organisations who wish to come on board and join us on this journey too. So the next few slides will show you the process for CQRS Local. So step 1 will be, and this is with my full support, you as commissioners will create the service, you will add the service components to the system, and essentially it's these components that the service providers will be claiming against. You will then offer the service out to your service providers. Step 2 will be that the service provider will prepare, and they will then effortlessly submit their declaration to yourselves. Step 3, this is a 2-tier process. So once you are in receipt of the claim, it'll first of all go to a tier 1, who's a commissioner user, and he or she will be inspecting the claim. So what's involved in inspecting the claim? So let's say, for example, you have a service, the service which we're going to be demonstrating in a moment is for minor surgery, and you have requested some supporting documents to be uploaded to support that particular claim. It will be the responsibility of tier 1 to inspect that claim, make sure that the correct file has been uploaded. Once they are satisfied with that claim, they will then approve it, and then it'll move to tier 2, the commissioner approver, who's usually somebody more senior in the organisation, and they will essentially be approving that claim for payment. So a very easy 3-step process. So I'm now going to show you a series of slides which will demonstrate the end-to-end process, service creation, declaration and approval of the 2 user groups, so commissioners and service providers. So I'm now logging on as a commissioner. I'm NHS North at Sarah. The service I'm going to be adding today is minor surgery, and the reason why I've put this on there is because minor surgery is probably our most popular service that we've got so far. It does consist of 3 components: excisions, incisions and injections. So once accounts have been set up, this will be a very typical home screen that you will see once you've logged onto the system. We can see this is represented by 3 menu tiles. So now we're going to click on the services menu tile. So from here on this particular services page, we can see all our services which are currently live. Now we're going to click on the new service button. So I've auto populated some of these fields, and this is very, very easy for you to fill in. So first of all, for the name, minor surgery service, we can select the financial year as well. So this is particularly useful if you want to plan ahead, and if you wanted to add a service which will go into the next year to save you a little bit of time at that when it arises, you can do that. It will give you the option if you wish to use PCSE for payments. That is auto selected. If you wish to pay for any particular service off system, then you simply deselect that tick box. So for the pay code description, so we have a multitude of pay codes within CQRS Local. So once we've typed in the name, we can see that it's come up with the minor surgery DES, and we can see that it's got 3 pay codes there, and these will accommodate GMS, APMS and PMS contract types. So for the description, you can put whatever you like there, but we like to keep it nice and simple, and we'll call it the minor surgery service. We do wish to stipulate that we want a claims window, so that's the period of time that the service provider will be declaring their achievement. We can deselect that if you don't wish to have a claims window, and I will be coming to the claims window in just a couple of minutes. Also as well, if you have the agreement and facilities to do this, you can, as a commissioner, submit declaration on behalf of the service provider. It's very straightforward for you to do. Once you have done that and you've submitted the claim, it does get submitted to the service provider, to the practice manager, and they will then approve the claim for you to then approve. So again, this is something we can visit at a later time. So a little bit further down the screen, it does give us the availability to upload a service specification document, very easily accessible by both the commissioner and the service provider, and can be accessed and opened within just a couple of clicks. So we'll now proceed to the next part, which is where we are going to be adding the service components. So if we click on the create component, so I've auto populated some of these fields already. So the first one will be excisions. It will then ask us to select our frequency. So, we have tailored CQRS Local to accommodate your service requirements. So whether you wish for claims to be submitted monthly, quarterly, biannually or annually, that is available for you to choose from here. So we are going to select monthly. And in this particular scenario, it will be a per unit or on a per excision basis. We've also got retainers as well, which is used if you wish to pay a practice or practices a certain amount of money. It's just a tick box and it will populate what that value will be. And we also as well accommodate for actual and weighted populations as well. So at the back end of CQRS Local, this is for the actual population unit and actual population retainer. We do have the list sizes of each and every practice for that. So with that, we are going to be paying £88.91 per excision. We have added, this is quite a new feature, we've added a description there. So if one of the components was quite complex, you've got the description field there for you to input some further information as to what it is that's required by the service provider there. This is optional as well for you. You may choose to stipulate that you want your service providers to provide you with some supporting evidence to support that particular claim, and you can select that box and then you can put exactly what those requirement details are into that box there. With the submission of evidence documents, you can also stipulate which files you will accept. And with bandings, now with bandings aren't used at the moment with any of our organisations. They certainly wouldn't be used for excisions. However, this is just an example of how this would work. So this would be ideal for services such as smoking cessation, NHS health checks, weight management referrals. So for example, in here, you would set a tariff. Now, I know these tariffs are quite low for these sort of referral examples, but if we were going to be referring between 1 and 19 patients, then the service provider would incur a £10 payment for each and every one of those referrals. Between 20 and 49, we will up the tariff to £12 per referral, 50 to 74, and you can see that the tariff does then go up massively. I mean, this is a huge incentive for service providers. It's available there if you wish to use it. And we can also see there on the right hand side of the screen a calculation example, so you can input and say what was claimed, what that return value would be, to see if that works for you and of course works for your service providers as well. So what we're going to do now, we've now inputted our first component, so we can see it was very, very straightforward to do, very intuitive as well. So we'll click save. So I won't bore you with proceeding to add incisions and excisions. So we've fast forwarded the time and we can see that the 3 components have now been added. So just a moment ago, I did discuss the option that you've got to specify whether or not you wish for service providers to upload an evidence document. What we've been discussing with the newly onboarded commissioners is you could, if you wish to, add a 4th component to that, which would be a retainer, and there could be a declaration which says something along the lines of, I confirm that the information provided is to the best of my knowledge, and I understand that an audit check may be carried out by the commissioner at any time. Again, we can discuss that in the future if that's something that you want. So also as well, we can then stipulate what the schedule will be. So once we've clicked on that button, so we can see here, this is our schedule. Months 1 through to 12 are listed. If it was a quarterly one, it would show quarters 1, 2, 3, and 4. This is the activity from, so this is the service provider activity period. So this is the period of time that they'll be undertaking their minor surgery procedures. And this is the submission and approval period. So I've highlighted these here. So from the 1st of October on the right-hand window, our claims window has opened and it will remain open until the 31st of October, which is plenty of time for the commissioners to submit their submissions for the September period of time. Now, if there is the possibility that some organisations may be late in submitting their declaration, there is the facility to extend that particular claims window just to allow for all claims to be submitted. Now, on the service creation page, so quite a few slides ago, there was a box where we ticked has claims windows. If you opt to not have claims windows, you simply deselect that, and this is a typical example of what that would look like. So we can see here for month 6, so from the 1st of September to the 30th of September, the service provider will have an open window in which they can submit their claim. Now what we need to do is we need to review this, and I am quite satisfied with all the information I've entered. I've checked, I've double checked the tariffs, checked the frequency. I'm happy that we've got evidence on there. I'll now wish to confirm, and I'm now going to publish this particular service. So as we can see here on our services page, that has now been published with the 4 components. So now it comes to offering this service out to our service providers. So we'll click on the contracts menu. So here we'll show you a list of all your contracts that are currently live at the moment. And I'm now going to create a new contract. So again, keeping it nice and simple, we'll call it the minor surgery service. We can click next. And at this point, we can select the practices it's going to. We can use this select function there to select them all, and you can use that if you wish to select them all, and then you can deselect any practice that won't be participating for whatever reason that will be. You can also see on this page as well that it does list the ODS code as well as the contract type as well. So we'll now click next. So it'll now ask us to search and locate our service. We can use the search box at the top and the magnifying glass. This has now brought up the minor surgery, and over at the right hand side we have a select button. So you can have multiple, and I've known of one organisation that actually has 18 components for their minor surgery. So that select button is very useful to save you having to repeat the box ticking exercise. So now that we've selected that, we'll click next. So this is the very final part now. This is the confirmation screen. So we can see here that the service for minor surgery is going out to 7 practices, and these on the right hand side, these are the 3 components that it consists of. So we'll place a tick in the box, and then we'll click confirm. So you will get a confirmation message to say that the service is now live. It's gone to 7 providers. It has 3 components. So the next few slides will illustrate how really straightforward this is for service providers to submit their declaration. So I am a provider user. I work at Fair Isle Surgery, and I'm now going to be submitting my claim for minor surgery. So these screens look very, very similar to the commissioner screen. So this is the home page. So each and every person within the practice, and you can have as many people in your practice registered for an account as you like to help manage these claim submissions. So first of all, we'll click on our claims menu tile. And we can see here, which is a really useful screen for the service providers. It will show you the claim ID, the submission date, and most importantly, the status of each claim. So we can see here our claims that were submitted, 2 are pending first commissioning review, and there are 2 that are pending second commissioning review. So very, very useful. And back, currently, if you're not using CQRS Local, your practices will be submitting invoices and other documentation via email. All they can see there that is in their sent items, they do not know whereabouts their claim is up to. And this is really fundamental in helping them to understand and to follow their claims. So now what we'll do is we'll click on new claim. And because our claims window has now opened, we can see we've got our service with its 3 components there. It also will show the activity window, so we know exactly which quarter or which month we are going to be claiming for. So in the units, this is where we're going to enter how many of those 3 components that we've fulfilled within that period of time. Once that information is entered, as you can see, the system will also calculate what that return value will be. Now, over in the right-hand side, you can see highlighted, we've got 3 icons. That does represent that we had a specification, a requirement for evidence to be uploaded. So once any of those 3 icons are clicked on, it will come up with the evidence upload screen. So we can see there what the requirement details are, what is expected for me to provide, and what is not expected. So obviously we do not want any patient identifiable information. So to locate this, the service provider will click on their browse button. They'll upload to wherever it is that they've saved their minor surgery claim form. Once they've opened it, it will attach to the claim, as we can see there. And then to close this box, all we then need to do is click on the close button. We will need, or they will need to do that for each and every one of those components. And we can see that the box is now represented with a little blue tick to indicate that a file has been successfully attached. All we now need to do, really, really straightforward, is to click on our Submit Claim button. Because we have uploaded an evidence document, or indeed any type of document was uploaded to support this claim, it will go through an antivirus check just to ensure that the file is malware free for when the commissioner comes to open it. Now that we've done that, we can see that it's generated its own unique reference number of 701. We can also see as well that it's pending first commissioning review. Once the first commissioning reviewer has reviewed that and approved it, it will then move to second commissioning review, and immediately the service provider will see that the status has changed as well. So within time, page 1 will become very busy, and we'll go into page 2, we'll go into page 3, etc., etc. So you can use that really useful search box at the top. You can just type in your claim ID number, click on the magnifying glass, and it will come up with your claim. You can click on the view button, and then you can view the claim that you had submitted. Now that has gone back to the commissioner, so the next couple of screens you will see will be what the tier 1, the commissioner user, what they will see and what they will do with the claim. So essentially they are going to be vetting the claim. So we'll click on our claims menu tile, and we can see here we've got some activity here that's been submitted from 4 service providers. I've got some reviewing to do for my claims, and we can see there at the very, very bottom from Fair Isle Surgery, there is a claim, £5,370.80, and I'm now going to click on the review button. So here comes the claim. I can see from here who it was at the service provider who submitted the claim, and I can also see what the total value of that claim was. If I did request evidence to be uploaded, there is the evidence file. Once that icon is clicked on, it will then prompt you to download that, and it will download locally to your machine. So you can file it away should you so wish to. You don't need to file it away, as it will always remain on the system. Once you have done that, or once you are satisfied with that information that's been provided, you can place a tick in the approve box, and then you can then send for approval. I don't have any slides for if there was a scenario, if you wish to decline a claim. I will be happy to show you exactly how that will work if you are interested in having another demonstration or a discussion with myself. What you would then need to do is, if you did tick on that decline box, a box would come up asking you to input some information, the reason why you are declining the claim, and exactly what the service provider needs to do to correct that. And it really is a very straightforward process. So I'm now going to send for approval. And the next couple of slides will show you what the tier 2, the commissioner approver, what they will do with the claim. So they will also click on their claims menu tile, and we can also see there is the claim, and it's now asking me to review this claim. So once I've clicked on that review button, I will also, to ensure consistency, I am also going to look at the evidence file just to make sure that it is correct. And once I'm happy with what I've seen, I will place a tick in the approve box. There is another box to certify that the above claim can be approved for payment. And then finally, I'm going to click on the approve for payment button. So once I've done that, the status, as you can see there, will have claim approved. The service provider will get instant notification that the claim has been approved. And these notifications will be both system notifications and email notifications as well. And you can turn those email notifications on or off at any time. So that was the end of the service creation declaration and approval. So the next couple of screens, there's not that many more for me to show you, will be the reporting which is available to the commissioner and the service provider. So this particular one is for the commissioner. So very, very useful as well. And at the moment, with the situation with PCSE, this is particularly useful for the finance team as well. So we're going to click on our reporting menu tile. As you can see there, we have accommodated for 3 different types of reports available. The report I'm going to select now is the claims approved for payment. So we've got some criteria that we need to specify here. So first of all, the financial year, we can leave that exactly as it is if it's for the current financial year. You've got the search by. So in this particular scenario, we want the approval date, the date from and to. So I want to see all claims that have been approved for payment within that particular time frame. You can specify if you wanted to over the last month, over the last quarter. It's entirely up to you how you wish to run that report. So section number 4 there is going to ask us to select our services. So in this example, it's going to be minor surgery, or indeed you could, if you've got lots of services that you've got on the system, you can run the report on all of them. Now I'm going to select the service providers, so you can select one provider, or indeed you can select them all. So once I've done that, I can now get the option of viewing it on screen or downloading it as a CSV. So if I downloaded it as CSV, this is what you'll get. I did have some restrictions on the size of this particular slide. So as you can see there at the very bottom, the activity window and pay code description, is missing. It should be up there at the top somewhere, but it was very, very tight for me to fit in there. So we can see here, we've got our providers, we've got the service, we've got the components, we've got the pay codes as well. We've got the approval date, and we can see here the very, very bottom three for Pharaoh's Medical. They've submitted a claim which has been approved for minor surgery. They've submitted that they've done 41 excisions at £86, and that returns £3,526. So this is really, really useful as well. So this can be filed away. It can be color coded. We can hide rows, columns, etc. But this really has been very useful for the finance departments to know who they have paid and who they need to pay for any particular period of time. So the service provider reporting, again, this is available for all the users signed up for an account at the GP practice. We currently only have one report for you, which is claims approved for payment. We are always open to ideas. If you think of any other reports that would be of benefit to service providers, please come to me and we will certainly consider them. So once we've clicked on that menu tile, it will then ask us to stipulate some very similar information as you saw for the commissioner. Select the services, and then we can click view or download CSV. So if I clicked on the view button, so we can see for that particular period of time, we've got our services listed there. We've got the claim activity, and we can also see the total value of approved claims for that particular period of time. So that's very, very useful as well for the service providers, and it can also be saved if you so wish to. So we're now almost at the end. I just wanted to show you, because I'm sure that one of you will ask this about the implementation and the time frame. So how quickly, once you're interested, once the ball is rolling, how quickly can this be implemented? So this is going to give you a quick snapshot of a typical month. So we can see here stages 1 through to 8, and 8 being go live. So in the first week, there's going to be communications taking place. There will be meetings, and you will agree to onboard and join us on this journey. An agreement is then emailed out to you and then returned back to myself. Accounts are set up, so that'll be the administration account, tier 1 and tier 2, and finance, if applicable. And then we will start to add your schemes. And again, I will be providing you with full support all the way with that. You will not be left in the dark. We will add your services. We will offer them out to your service providers. Within week 2, we will arrange for service provider training. The service provider training will then occur in weeks 3 and 4 with the aim of going live in week 4. Now, that is based on the agreement being returned as soon as you possibly can to me. And we are looking at, 80 service providers, around about 80, but we'd probably be looking at around about the 100 mark as well. And it would depend on whether there was availability for all the service providers to undertake their training. So that will give you hopefully some assurance that, we could go live within 4 weeks if there was something that you are interested in. And again, I know I've said it a few times, I'm open to discussion, and we can certainly arrange for discussions to take place to look into that. So this presentation will be available to you. If you are very, very keen, you can do a print screen now to capture my email address. As I said at the beginning, you do have my email address already because I sent out the invite to you later on, and this presentation will be emailed out anyway. It will be available on our website. So I'd like to take that opportunity to thank you very much indeed. That was a very quick and it was just a flavour of what CQRS Local can offer you. If you've got any questions, I would be more than happy to answer them.
That's brilliant. Thank you, David. I'm just trying to get my presentation back up. Just thinking about it. Okay, so hopefully you've seen there that the presentation has demonstrated how easy the system is to use, and it's very, very straightforward. Just to kind of go over some key information, reiterating some of what David said. So whilst it is really simple to use, as you've just seen, we are here to make sure that you're fully supported throughout your journey on CQRS. So each region will get as a minimum, 3 different training sessions. Day 1 to allow us to show you the system, answer questions that you've got, and allow us to understand how your local schemes work and who will be using the system. During that session, we'll talk to you about engaging the practices, and we've got a toolkit that we can provide to you as well to help you to engage them and to train them. So then day 2 is system training. During that session, we teach you how to configure and use the system from end to end. We provide you with e-learning support as well, all the documentation that you need and the training guides. And then day 3 is sort of post-implementation support. So that can be whenever you want it to be. So that could be, you know, the month after you go, it could be the month after your first quarter when you start to do all of your reporting. David's been through this loop a lot of times with a lot of areas now. And they're giving, everyone's given the full support that they need to make sure that the system is working well for you. Everything that we do is all done, obviously, because of the pandemic and people don't really travel anywhere anymore. So everything's done remotely via Microsoft Teams. So it's a really efficient and effective way. And we've found that that's worked really well. Everything's free at the point of you using it. So as I mentioned earlier on, everything's funded by NHS England. So there's absolutely no cost to any of you in terms of the system use or any training or support that we give you. So exactly the same way as CQRS National or Choose and Book or e-referrals, it's all kind of free at the point that you use it. So in terms of next steps, really, so as David said, we just need to sort of ascertain your position. So where are you in terms of wanting to use CQRS? Are you at the point that you're ready to go and you want to have that kind of next follow-up discussion with David to go through how the system would work? We've got quite a few comments that have come in the chat, so we'll sort of jump to those in a second and go through some of them because some of them will come up. Some of them will answer some of the questions that we have. Everything that we've talked about today, these videos and all of our frequently asked questions are available on our CQRS welcome page. So that's just welcome.cqrs.nhs.uk. So there's a lot more information on there. A few people have asked about the slide deck being shared, and you'll be able to find a version of this presentation on there already, but we will make sure that this one is shared with you. Okay, so if I turn my screen share off and put my camera back on, and then we can kind of start going through some of the questions. So some of them, David, I know that you've answered. So we had one from Baines in terms of how quick is it to get set up on the system. So I think we've been through that one, haven't we?
Yes, we have, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry, I'm just trying to stop my screen from sharing. Stop sharing. There's a button that says stop sharing. That'll be helpful. Okay. So I was kind of busy answering some of the questions. There's been some discussion, if anyone's kind of keeping in touch with the chat. So there has been some discussion around some CCGs or some areas that use EMIS Web already, and they do centralised reporting, and so maybe this isn't suitable for them. So my response to that really is it depends on how you work locally. So we are aware that we've got some regions who have centralised reporting out of EMIS, and then they pay just off the back of that without really getting the practices involved. However, we know we've got some regions that don't have any centralised reporting. We have some that do centralised reporting, but then they do a bulk upload into CQRS Local and still use that for the payment mechanism. So that's an option. David, is there anything that you want to come in on that point?
No, not at the moment, Catherine, no.
Okay. So I would welcome anyone that if that's the case and you think we've got central extraction, if you've not had a conversation with us already, just pick up the phone to David anyway and talk about how that can work, because although the data extraction bit is automated through EMIS, the payment part we can still automate for you. So that might be, but it's not going to suit everybody. You know, we're aware of that. We are on the timeline for system development, looking, and Next CSU are the ones that are developing the system on behalf of the collaborative. So they are looking at full integration with EMIS so that you can do that data extraction and it goes directly into the system. We've got a meeting in December to go through what the timeline is. I think someone's asked what the timeline is for that integration. So we'll know more then about the timeline for that integration. So Samantha from Cornwall has asked, what are the benefits of using the system for practices as opposed to submitting manual claims? So there are quite a few different benefits. I'll come up with some, and then David can chime in on the ones that I've forgotten. Some of them are benefits on both sides. Some are just benefits on either the commissioning side or on the provider side. It speeds up questions and queries from practices. So, and this depends on the system that you have at the moment. If you're using a spreadsheet and practices are filling out a spreadsheet and sending it to you, you're processing it and then paying them on that basis. CQRS Local really speeds that process up for you and for practices. So if they think, oh, I haven't got paid for my excisions last month, I wonder what's happened. At the moment, I assume they either pick up the phone to you or they send you an email that you then have to deal with. Within CQRS, they can just access the CQRS system and they can see what's happened with that payment. You might have rejected it and you can put a rejection reason in there. I guess you may not have picked it up. And again, they can see, so they can go and see exactly what process, what point in the process that claim is. On the flip side of that, if you have to query a payment or if you have to reject a payment, it goes back to them, it notifies them, rather than you having to get back in touch with the practice to be able to pick up any problems that you have with that. It reduces the likelihood of inaccurate claims because everything's in one place. And if you request evidence, they have to upload that evidence for you to be able to make the payment. So in terms of the evidence that you want, it's just whatever you already use. And they can upload that. So again, rather than you having to have a load of documents all over the place on various different shared drives, maybe that's all stored and saved within the system. It allows them to reconcile their payments more efficiently, so they don't have this huge bulk with no reconciliation. And that's one of the things that practices have found really, really helpful. And it does allow, if you put all of your schemes on, so you can put your Liz, Des schemes, anything that you want to on there. And the Ukrainian refugee one is a really great example of a CCG that has said, oh, we've got this requirement for payment, can we put it on the system? And pretty much we can put most things on. So if you do something quite unique in your area, we absolutely can put that on. Sharon, David, can you think of any other benefits that I've not?
That was brilliant, Catherine. I couldn't have said it better.
Yes,
I could not have said that better myself. Yeah. And also as well, we've had some really positive feedback from commissioners as well. I mean, there was one, this information is available. They're based in Northumberland, who said that they've got a week and a half, a month better off from using the system, which ultimately means with them having more time, they're able to process the claims. And also as well, and I've found this out from one of our organisations who are on board with us just this afternoon, is that they are dealing with more claims now than they've ever received before, which was fantastic. So we don't know what practices have obviously not been submitting 100% of their claims in the past until they've started to use CQRS Local, which is great. So win-win.
Indeed.
No, you did answer that very nicely. And apologies, Anne-Maria, I half looked at your question about the time frame for integration. Apologies, I was thinking that you wanted to know when you could possibly go live with the system, so apologies for that.
Yeah, so the integration, we're just waiting on the timeline.
Yes,
yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. Does anyone else have any other questions? Feel free to either pop them in the chat or put your hand up if you wanted to come in with anything.
Victoria Stanley has asked, do we use the same login details as other CQRS access, or do we need new logins?
You'll need new logins. Yeah, the national system and the local system are two very separate systems. So you could, if you wanted to, use the same login. It's entirely up to you.
Okay, so so our team approves and processes claims on behalf of the ICBs in our area. How will it benefit our team, and what permissions would be required? So the benefit to your team, if you're processing those claims, is that you have all of your claims in one central place. And it does depend, as I say, on how you do that at the moment. So if you're very spreadsheet based, obviously the benefit is greater. Whereas if you have an extract from EMIS, for example, then there is still huge benefit, but not as much. So the main benefit for you as a team is that you don't have multiple emails coming in from different practices. You don't have a whole load of data that you then have to store and save. So everything's just done within the system. So if a practice wants to claim something, you can offer it out to them. They can put their claim on, they can submit their evidence, and that sits then within one system. You can do centralised reporting on that. So if you wanted to see at a glance, as David just said, some practices aren't claiming. If you wanted to see at a glance to say, actually, we've commissioned the high street surgery to do excisions, but they haven't claimed any for the last 3 months. It's really easy to see just by doing a quick report on the system as to who has and hasn't claimed. Any rejections, as I say, that you may do, or any issues that you have with the claim, you can push back to the practice through the system rather than you having to do that separately. The payment is done via a payment file from the system. So again, you don't have to then send a separate notification across from your payment team, and that generates the payment straight into the practices. So it is a much slicker process. So we put claims on schedules for payments, e.g. minor surgery, and use CQRS for everything else. So we've got quite a few regions. We've got a lot of NHS England regions that are using minor surgery now on there. So, and I think they found huge benefit, haven't they, David, across
Absolutely. And for that particular scenario you've said there, so an example is the Greater Manchester area. So we've got 5 of the 10 who have on board at the moment. We're still awaiting the other 5 to come on board. So we do have a team that manage the 5 areas there around Greater Manchester. They've got access to the system and they can go in and they can approve the claims all in one place, which is really, really useful. And they've got the ability as well to run the reports as well.
Yeah, and ideally for a system-wide view, if we can get those DES minor surgery schemes on there, and the practice is claiming there, but then the local schemes from the CCG are on there as well. That's brilliant for the practice because all of their local schemes are all in one system. So they've got CQRS, their national, and then they've got all of their localized stuff as well. But it would be fantastic to get you on board if you have, especially if you have 11 ICBs. So yeah, we'll link you in with David to make sure that you can have that discussion. So Amanda, phlebotomy. I've just emailed my data quality manager about phlebotomy as you were talking. To go, what do we have to do with phlebotomy? There's a danger that taking this directly from EMIS that you're paying practices for more than they should get. Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, if someone goes in and has 4 or 5 blood tests but are just on one, I guess that risk is there. If you're on a spreadsheet process at the moment, then that risk is present anyway, and the automation of that process wouldn't affect that risk, if that makes sense. I think when you get into the level of doing the data extraction and linking directly into EMIS, absolutely we need to be very careful that people are only claiming for what they should be. But yeah, thank you for the point. Yeah. Okay, are there any more questions?
No, I think you've covered them all now, Catherine.
That's brilliant. Thank you, Sharon. Okay, so it just remains really for me to thank you all for your time. Hopefully you found that useful and informative and helpful. As David's put in the chat there, he's going to ask Greater Manchester to have a chat around how the ICBs are using that at scale. So if anybody wants any more information from any of the services that are already live, please let us know. They're more than happy. We make everyone our champions. And we've got a user group, so we put people on our user group, and we can absolutely link you in with other people if you want to know how it's worked for them locally. So I hope that you have a productive afternoon, productive and enjoyable afternoon. If you do want any more information from us, please reach out to David, and we look forward to hopefully working with you all soon. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thanks. Bye.